Okay, I've got a Bugs 3 1800 mAh 2S battery on here, and I've put a little strip of sorbethane under the camera and used an AKK A3. It's a 200 milliwatt switchable little clover leaf all in one. It performs better than most of the cameras that I've got at night, certainly this size. Brightness is up about 60% on my goggles, but apart from that, this is just the camera compensating. Now for me, this is the perfect little spot for this quad. I'm always going to pick somewhere fast and low than I am up high. The centre speed with the ground rushing past you, even on a 1S brush quad, is just way more fun for me. It also means that if you do make a mistake, or when you make a mistake, you don't get punished so bad. Frames generally don't break, and you're just going to do a little cartwheel on the grass. Now as you can see, the Bugs 2 is pretty quick. It's certainly no slouch at full speed. You're lacking a little bit of torque, but anything you would need torque for is kind of overridden by the other limitations, which I'd like to talk about for a little minute now. And it's not that I don't recommend people start with a self-level craft, because I absolutely do, but being aware of the differences is a big thing. Now, as a disclaimer, I would always rather fly rate mode, but this doesn't have it. A lot of people look down on self-level and they go fly rate mode as soon as you can and have a problem switching between the two. And I agree, it can be a little tricky switching between rate mode and self-level, but doing so, in my opinion, only educates the pilot. If there's any limitations in your flying skill from switching between the two, that's on the pilot, not necessarily the quad. So the first one is your pitch is limited. Now obviously the pitch restricts the actual top speed available, but you get about 30 degrees max on this one, and as lift is applied more upwards than it is forwards, even at full stake, there's limitations to how fast you can actually descend as well. Secondary effects are it's impossible to turn fast and sharply, and doing so will just climb on corners and often drift to the outside. A lot of time here I've got full stick in on aileron and roll, and often pitch as well, and height is maintained only by the throttle. And if you're maintaining height, such as flying under trees, the drift is determined by the speed. I think the easiest way to sum it up is you've got speed, height, and then your racing line or trajectory, and you don't get complete control over all three of those like you would if it was rate mode. So one of them or two of them are often static, and one of them is your variable that you're playing with. It is quite quick and it's certainly quite smooth, but until you've got full control over it, Pleasure Cruiser is much more apt than Racer. Now I don't believe it's particularly expensive for MGX to really add rate mode to this, but at the very least I'd like to see a third rate that was a lot quicker. It just gives you a choice of flying it in places that you wouldn't necessarily fly it unless it's agile. So this is much more suited to somewhere where you've got space to fly and open it up a little bit. Don't take it to any little forest somewhere with loads of trees and things to hit. Okay, let's take it to the forest.
No.